What is going on, Oasis?
Man, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Looks like it's going to be lava hot, so there's our weather update. You're welcome.
There's your summer report for the month.
That's it. Hey, man, crazy weekend yesterday, or this whole weekend,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that you lied. When you walked away, we were like, hey, there are some jittery voices. And then Corbin stepped up to the mic
Yeah, he dropped
and
it,
just said, hey, yeah, I got more hair. And I was like, what
Yeah.
shaky voice? I was like, now is he not shaky?
Yeah, he got some jokes. I think my voice was shaky. That's actually what it was, yeah.
And then we found out, oh, that's why he's nervous.
Yeah, that's funny.
But no, they were great, man. Just
Yeah.
seeing the graduates, man, two of the graduated seniors, and seeing how rooted they are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they got up there and did that, and then Macy, another graduate, she's back
Yeah.
there, she's singing. And, man, I don't know that the contents of the stage yesterday was, I mean, it was a pretty good spread of high school, and then of course Caden getting up there, and he's old, just all high school, and they were doing the thing. That was funny. So I gave a little bit of prep, at least to Caden. And it was pretty funny because as I was telling Caden as he was going to do the announcements, like, okay, so you're going to be up there with Pastor Bradley, and he's a former youth guy, so you can expect banter. He's going to talk to you, and it's going to be funny, and it's going to be you need to be ready for that.
man, I saw him switch gears.
Yeah.
I was texting his parents like, are you scared yet?
Yeah, he did, man. He went into that, oh, this is comfortable moment. So overall, the entire weekend, actually, with the rib raiser, it actually started Friday night. We had a bunch of people come up here, and we started prepping some of the ribs, and then I'm just gonna be completely forthcoming with this, and I may be saying too much information, but sometimes in church work, help is not always good help. I just need to say that. And sometimes you have good help and you don't have enough of it. And then sometimes, like that rare moment where you have good help and there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we have a lot of work to do. We have all this other stuff, and bam, all the work that we had planned is done. And that's what happened Saturday morning, man. We had 120 racks of ribs that needed to be prepped. And our merry band of ninjas came in. We told them what to do, and next thing you know, it was slimy.
Yep.
It was messy, and like minutes later, it was done. And that's that moment where you realize, oh snap, okay, this is how this day is going to be. You know? Do we have enough work and all of that? And ultimately we did. It's just a long day, but
Yeah.
so super grateful for that, and I will say it again at some other point, but so overall we ended up doing 180 racks of ribs, and 312 pounds of sausage.
That's a lot of
It is
sausage.
so much. It is so much. Even like later on, I went home and I was really hungry, but I'm like, man, I don't think I want meat. You know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then ultimately I did eat that. So, you know.
Yep.
Thank you to everyone who supported us and supported us in the worship service and all the things that go with it. That ultimately leads up to next Monday. Next Monday will be this time we will not be at camp, but we will be close to camp. We'll be eating lunch, and so that's actually what this leads up to, and all of the support and everything. So is sending our students to camp, and we're super grateful for it.
Yeah.
One, a year ago we didn't get to go do this in the first place, but here we are. So we're grateful to be a part of it. So thank you, everyone. All of that is worth it. And of course, yesterday with the service, man, I really was standing up there on the stage and looking at folks, and looking out there and seeing Carter and Braden and a lot of people that had been in that exact position before.
Just moments ago.
Yeah, that had been in the student ministry, that was leading worship, that was doing what these students were doing. My only regret is that we didn't do it sooner. I maybe didn't know that we could do that, and I didn't ask. And So we've had that depth of talent for a while.
Really have.
Because the student ministry has, it predates me and has had depth predating any of that. And so it's just been a good ministry, whether you were running it, Bradley was running it, Chip was running it, whatever. It's had it for a while, and so it's just super cool to see it just kind of progress through. So awesome to be a part of that. Yesterday, I do have to take one of my favorite moments, and as I get into my passage, it kind of leads into it. I was sitting down front. It was about to be our turn to go up and to speak, I don't know if she's on here today, but Allison, Liz, they were sitting right behind us in kettles and all that. There was a moment in some of the songs during the praise and worship where, man, the congregation showed up. It was crazy. Like you just hear this sound come from behind you, and people just start singing, and it was pretty powerful. And I talked to some of the students that were up on the stage, because they're facing that, and they were like, "Oh, we heard it, we felt it," and so that was super cool to just be a part of. And I knew that they had been a part of that, and that's, I think, where when the church, when worship really happens, and you know it, and you feel it. So anyway, that was a really cool moment, and that kind of leads me into my passage. Today is 1 Peter. And it's going to be 1 Peter chapter 2, and starting in verse 9. And it gives a declaration of who we are. And it uses a word later on of how maybe we should even act and avoid things. But so verse 9 says, "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness and into his marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy." Verse 11, "But beloved, I urge you as sojourners and exiles to abstain from the passions of the flesh, which wage war against your soul." And if you look at this passage, it's immediately in verse 9. It's you're a chosen race, you're a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people of his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. You had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. I urge you as sojourners and exiles. He starts giving these names, right? Of this is who you are. And this is who God is that has brought you to this place. And that word of sojourners, that exiles, man, we live in a place that is hostile to us. We are aliens here. But this is who we are. We are a holy nation. We're a group of people that has been set apart, not because of what we did, but because of what God has done. And the privilege that goes with that. I was thinking about this last night as I was just kind of debriefing through the weekend, and thinking conversations that I had and just different things that I saw. And I was like, how privileged I am to be a part of certainly this church, but to be privileged, how privileged I am to be a part of the kingdom and to do what we do what I do. But you know what? That's because I've been found by Jesus. I'm a Christian, and the privilege that is to be called that. We are a chosen race and a royal priesthood and a holy nation, and we are God's possession. And maybe it's just coming off of this weekend, which is always like coming off of D Now or camp or whatever, where you kind of got a little bit of, I guess you got your Jesus high on, just because of weekend. But I don't know that that's it, as much as it's just it's a humbling moment where we realize that, man, God is so good to us and calls us. And it does go into this part where it says to abstain from the passions of the flesh. which wage war against your soul. And the truth is that is always going to be the case. Once we have this encounter with Jesus, we're always going to have this moment where the flesh is strong. And it's going to be coming at us. But I think the way that we combat that is looking at our own lives and saying, you know who I am? You know what's been done for me? This is who I am. And to abstain from that we don't lose that awe and that reverence of God. So super blessed, super humbled coming after this weekend, of course, thinking about this passage and getting ready for camp. And camp is always going to be fun, but the point of camp is it's a tool to be used by a student ministry to teach and be around your students even more. And if I were to ask for a prayer request, pray that God would move at camp, certainly, but also I need you guys to pray that God would continue to speak and that we would continue to listen for the other 51 weeks out of the year. So pray that the longevity and the staying power of what we're going to learn at camp and the fire and the passion will continue for the rest of that time.
And there's always something that God is pulling a generation to. And I think it's amazing to kind of even have those moments where it's not always a passing baton, but it's in the preparation. It's in the focus of where's my destination, what am I working towards, and that's where I want to go today. Really kind of coming into those moments. I think yesterday's had had one of those moments with Justice. It's just me and him. The girls went out. I was like, and always those days, when Jody gets up there and says, make sure you're asking your kids what's going on. I'm like, let's start. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but let's start doing this. I mean, so me and Justice, he's 5 years old, and so like, hey, what'd you learn in church yesterday? And he was like, well, there was two people. First it was men, and then there's this girl. She's just being mean. And then at one point it's like, then the two guys are being mean, and then they died. And I was like, okay, maybe we're Old Testament, But what was funny though is, man, he's listening, he's taking it in, and he winds down, then like, serious, these are his words. The point is, I need to be kind. Just out of, I was like, all right, I can run with that.
That's awesome.
Like the fact, all right, well, someone definitely told you that. Like the point is, so. In looking at this point, I want to jump into Ezra because there was another little thing of us going through. Any time a church does anything that's in the building, and there's a special moment. It's like they're seared in my mind. And this is the rebuilding of the temple. And starting in chapter 3, verse 8, it says, now the second year that is coming into the house of God at Jerusalem, in the second month of Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, Jeshua, the son of Jehozadak, and then made the beginning, and together with the rest of the kinsmen, and the priests and the Levites, and all who had come to Jerusalem from captivity. And they appointed the Levites that were 20 years old and upward to supervise the work of the house of the Lord. And Jeshua, with his sons and his brothers, and Kadmiel and his sons and his brothers, and Judah, and together supervised the workmen in the house of God. It says, and all of the sons of Henadad and the Levites, their sons and brothers. But here's the thing of it. They're rebuilding the temple. They've come out of captivity with Babylon, and they're coming back to their roots. And they're not necessarily a nation by themselves. They're still under control, but they've been allowed to go back home. But verse 10 says, and when the builders laid the foundation of the temple of the Lord, it says the priests and their vestments came forward with their trumpets, and the Levites and the sons of Asaph and their cymbals, and to praise God according to the direction of David, the king of Israel. It says, and they sang responsive praising and giving thanks to giving thanks to the Lord. It says, for he is good, and for his steadfast love endures forever towards Israel. And it says, and all the people shouted with a great shout, and when they praised the Lord, because the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. But verse 12 is what really kind of makes me think a little bit. It says, but many of the priests and Levites, who were heads of fathers' houses, and old men who had seen the first house, wept with a loud voice when they saw the foundation that the house was being laid. It says, and though many shouted aloud for joy, so that the people could not distinguish the different sound of the joyful shout to the sounds of the people weeping. And it seems like that never leaves. There's always like this hardship of the older generation of whether they're trying to hang on to something or something's being fixed and being built up. And I just, these moments that come in time, and they don't come all the time. It seems like every 40, 50 years or so, there's something that is a significant moment. But what I think they can both realize is that they realize the importance of the foundation that was laid. They realize what was capable now, what was coming. And one generation being like, man, this is what we did, this is what we used to have. And another generation like, this is what we're going to be capable of that they haven't got to experience because they've been in captivity. And all of this kind of this swirling around and Father's Day coming up and really me paying attention of, all right, my kids are really at the point of like, man, they're always susceptible of taking everything in. Even our youngest, who's not even a year old, is taking things in. Like she almost like turns her head when she hears her name now, or she does. It takes a time or two, but it's there, And so this importance of a foundation, and I don't want to be that parent who gets 13 years down the road and wants to dictate into their life.
Yeah.
And I see it happen so much of people want to. The kid has an idea of what he wants to do, and the parents just shoot it down.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a struggle. Then it becomes a wedge between an older generation and a younger generation. And yes, I'm sure there needs to be some humility and some acceptance on the younger generation side, but there needs to be, some knowledge and some freedom given to on the older side.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we as a culture, we do a poor job about that, of not paying attention of, okay, let's pay attention to the foundation.
Yeah.
What's possible? What is now capable? Just because it's a good thought doesn't mean it should happen, right?
Yeah. No, that's a good call.
And I think that a lot of times we hinder because we're not the ones going to be able to experience all of it, or going to be able to do the work, or going to be the leader who gives the direction. And I think that's hard for us to accept as a generation who might have missed their chance. But the reality is, you're a generation who has a chance to help pave the way for the generation behind your children. It's your grandchildren, and seeing that connection. And I'm just looking at life and paying attention to my family. I want to make sure I have the joy that my parents have with their grandchildren.
Yeah, you're setting them up. You're setting them up for success and not to be limited by your limitations. I think that sometimes we do that. I know I do, and I have done it with my two sons. Is I've applied my limits and my insecurities, my insecurities on them.
Yeah.
And by doing so, I put a fence that is not their fence around that. I need to deal with my own insecurities and things of that nature. I love that. I love the thought process that goes along with that, and teaching the foundational things of the truth. Because that runs independent of whether or not I like it or not. God's truth is God's truth.
Yeah.
I don't get to argue with that, but I do need to teach it, and I need to teach it well. That's that generation that we are. That's who we are, right? So, Are we teaching that we are a holy priesthood, or that we are a nation set apart, or am I teaching? Or are we teaching? Man, this is hardcore. I appreciate this. I appreciate these two being next to each other like that. Am I teaching that kingdom, or am I teaching my kingdom?
Yeah.
And the things that go along with that. And I can't. I think probably, just to be honest, we probably do. I probably do better than I think I do. It's kind of human nature to beat yourself up. But I also can't say that it couldn't be better.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be pushing my sons to be even deeper and who they actually are.
Yeah.
So strong, dude.
And Ezra, it's amazing what they had opportunity to rebuild, and the excitement that comes with that. But sometimes that funk of emotion that's in there of like, man, it is forward progress, but it hurts because, the younger generation should have had to rebuild, right? And so I totally get that perspective, but we got to pay attention in the moment now, and let us learn, yes, for what our mistakes were, but pushing forward to where God is leading us to go. And that's got to be forward.
Man, that's such a good call. I appreciate that statement even right there. The younger generation shouldn't have to rebuild our faith. They shouldn't have to rebuild it. So foundational work, prominent towards Jesus, Him and Him glorified.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
That should be the point, period. Father's Day coming up this weekend.
Yes.
So we yesterday with all the students up there and just kind of a busy day, we just kind of neglected to say it. And dads, it's not because we don't love you.
I'm just going to say this right. We're both dads. Yeah, we got stuff going on.
But it is Father's Day, and we do have a gift to give, and it's going to be fun. But keep an eye out throughout the course of the week of just some fun content that we can throw out there this week, and pictures and everything. And don't forget, pick out your favorite meat for your dad to grill for his day.
Yeah.
and all this stuff that goes along with it, which low key is awesome.
Just saying,
anyway,
one picture text a day.
Yeah, that's it. All right. So that's it. Love you guys, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.